Hey, all, it's David Ducker coming back at you, and today I'm going to be talking about one-shots. They're one-session campaigns, one-session games. You sit down for 4 hours, you roll some dice. Usually they're very linear, and uh, and that's about it. So I'll talk about the pros, the cons, when to use them, how to do them well, all that good stuff. So in a one-shot, you got to first of all consider what they are and why they happen. So usually you'll be running a one shot because you don't have a schedule to get the same group of people together for episode 2, or else you'd be doing a two shot. Um, so there's a time constraint. You got to do it in one session, beginning, middle, end, complete story, wrapped up in a package, one session. You got 4 hours, you got 6 hours, however long you have, that's it. No sequel, no part 2, no loose threads. You cannot allow this. So right there, that invites to me that, first of all, you have to script it tight. You have to have your beginning, middle, and end and know what they're going to be. Whereas in a sandbox, you discover the story that's there. But in a one-shot, you have to impose the story onto the players and onto the game, and that involves railroading, GM fiat, metagaming, all the stuff that you need to do to make sure you get to the end within 4 hours. You do it. You know, you cheat, you lie, you steal, but you get that payoff at the end of the day. So one-shots are gaming for the bad guys. Boom. The bad guys love one-shots because you get to bully your players along the railroad, and that's really you got to do it, or you'll have a loose thread. You'll have no ending. If you have no ending, why do you even start? I get mad at my GM if there's no ending. I don't. If he railroads me, but there's an ending, that's cool. That no problem. Especially if he tells me up front, this is a railroad, guys. We're going to go through. You're not going to deviate because we need an ending. You know, so that time constraint and the wanting to tell a story instead of just a Shaggy Dog story where it's just a series of events that trail off. I don't care about that, not at all. I'd rather do nothing. I'd rather play a board game. I'd rather have a conversation than just a story that has no ending. If there's no moral to the story, what's the point? So because of the time constraint, you have to use certain tools. Like I said, the railroad, the metagame, the GM fiat, they all come into play. Also, usually, because of the time constraint, you don't have time to make characters right there. So you're going to have pre-generated characters to hand out, which will basically be stat blocks. This is one time when, one type of game where the role-playing is not the star. The story is the star, and you're just an element moving through that story. This is basically what railroads are, whether they're 10-session railroad or a one-session railroad. The railroad is the star. The story is the star. You are not the star. The players, the characters don't matter, really. The NPCs might matter because they're really part of the story, but your character doesn't matter. And for a one-shot, that's okay. No problem, because we get to see this story. The one-shot is like you tell me a story, and I kind of participate in a limited way. But you're the architect of the story as a GM. And would I play a 10-session railroad? No, never. Would I play a 4-session railroad? Sure, I could do that. Especially if the GM story is good. If he actually brings some thunder, he's written a great story with NPCs, and the plot is twisting and turning, and I don't know what's coming next. Like a railroad can be a roller coaster, and I love roller coasters. It'd be so much fun to get railroaded. If it's a train you want to take, if the destination's someplace you want to be, that's great. and for a one-shot, because it's so short, even if the destination's not right, you weren't on that train very long, so it's okay. So now because it's a time constraint, which means it has to be a railroad, and you have to use these tools to railroad the player on, and they probably haven't even made their characters. They've been assigned to them. So all of the pressure is on you as the GM. If this game sucks, it's your fault. If this game's average, it's your fault. If the game's great, it's your fault. That their fault that this game was amazing, even though you had no one helping you. That can speak volumes about your skill as a GM. So because all the pressure's on you, there's more prep. I mean, you're always going to prep more for a railroad than for a sandbox, but in this case, there's even more because it's so tight. Some stories can be told quickly. Some stories have to take time to tell, and some stories can only be told within the Ring of Fire. That's a shout out to Underwood. So you have to have a story that matches your time frame and impose it on the players. That's basically what a one-shot is. Because like I said, loose threads are a waste of everyone's time. Don't have loose threads. So for me, I hate one-shots as a GM. I hate running them because there's so much work, beginning, middle, end, that's really exciting and well plotted and well thought out and fits the time frame. That's hard for me. That's really, really hard for me to do. So I don't like running one-shots because of that. I don't mind railroading someone if the plot and the railroad is fun, and if it's something I want to share, that's fine. I'll railroad them, but it's hard for me to write in that style. I like to just explore a little more nebulously, and the railroad is so linear, and I'm just, if I know what's going to happen as a GM, I get bored. I don't care. So the joy for me is sharing this thing with the other player. So it better be darn good if I'm excited enough to share it when I don't get much enjoyment out of it by itself, because I know what's going to happen. So that's my thoughts on a one-shot. Now, as a player, though, I don't mind one-shots. You try out new systems. You try out new settings. You try out new GMs, perhaps people who are brand new to GMing, in fact. So you can explore a different character type that you wouldn't commit to over a long term. But if you're saying, oh, it's only a one-shot, maybe I will try to play a Neogi, and I usually wouldn't. Or maybe I will try to play a gnome, and I hate gnomes, or whatever it is. Or maybe I'll try a bust out. I'll try to bust out my Liverpudlian accent, and it might be terrible to try to bust out an accent that you've never done before, or you've never done for a long period of time before. But it could polish that accent in your repertoire so that when the opportunity arises to play a long campaign, maybe that accent is now up to snuff because you practiced it. So for the first bit, it's going to be awful, but it gives you a chance to practice and to explore, especially rule sets and house rules. Like, oh, let's try a one shot that's a space opera. Let's try a one shot that's alien invasion, zombie apocalypse, a pulp hero, superhero. Let's try a one shot that's a Stone Age Mammoth Hunters game. And then, in 5 weeks, you've expanded your mindset, your repertoire so much, versus let's do a space opera, and it's really good, but it takes a whole year or 5 years to do that. Now you're really going to be polished at space opera, but you're going to have no idea about post-apocalypse. So one-shots can be great teasers. My brother loves to run one-shots to explore new systems and new settings. And even, like I said, new house rules. Try new accents. Ones that you're not polished against. I apologize to everyone from Liverpool who might be watching this because my Liverpudlian accent is terrible. But maybe I'll practice it in one shot and I'll get it better. So I think as a player, that those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think about how to run one shots. How to write one-shots, perhaps, how to get this beginning, middle, end within 4 hours. If you like one-shots, if you hate one-shots, tell me all about it in the comments below. I'll be excited to read about it. If you disagree with me in the comments. Do a video response because I will learn more from people who disagree with me than from people who agree with me. If you agree with me, I've learned very little. If you disagree with me, I could learn a great deal. So I appreciate that. So please feel free to call me a jackass and see my style is weak and show me a more opulent style because I want to level up my opulence. So I'm going to sign out now. Everybody have a good day, though, in YouTube land.